All right, President Trump met with his national security team again today about that situation in both Israel and Iran and about the conflict between the two countries, a day after the White House announced a 2-week deadline for his decision on whether or not to drop an enormous bomb on the Fordo nuclear plant, as Israel wants him to. Trump says that deadline of 2 weeks gives him some time now to see if, quote, people come to their senses.
Giving him a period of time. We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving him a period of time, and I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
President Trump has made it clear he does not want American boots on the ground in this war, but he is considering dropping a bomb on Iran's most critical nuclear enrichment facility named Fordo. We've been talking about it every night. Iran built Fordo deep inside a mountain, precisely to shield it from such attacks. But experts believe the United States still has the capacity to destroy the facility with something called a bunker-busting bomb. It sounds very simple. It's one of the world's biggest security threats, eliminated by a magic bullet, albeit a 30,000-pound magic bullet. But while war might be many things, simple is not one of them. To completely destroy Fordo, some experts say the United States would need to drop not one, but a series of these massive bombs down the same hole. And the president wants some reassurance that whatever option he chooses will, in fact, work. This has never been used. What the United States does, the United States does not need to get any more deeply involved in the Middle East conflict at all. Most Americans don't want the U.S. going to war at all. In fact, only 16% of Americans polled by The Economist and YouGov support U.S. military action there. Our next guest has heard from his well-placed sources that IDF ground forces might actually be able to assault Fordo on their own with the help from Mossad, the spy service inside Iran, and that is currently working in Iran. That would leave the United States apparently out of the conflict. President Trump, however, expressed doubt this afternoon about Israel's ability to destroy Fordo on its own.
They really have a very limited capacity. They can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
Joining us now is Dan Raviv. Dan knows more about Israel's spy agency and its defense forces than just about anyone else. He spent 4 decades as a major network correspondent, much of that time in Tel Aviv. He's also written 5 books on Israeli espionage, including Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars. He's also the host of Mossad Files. Dan, great to have you back on the show. So, part of the push to get the United States involved is so that we can destroy Fordo with this bunker-busting bomb. But there is a second scenario, right, where Israeli commandos go in on the ground, but could they destroy it?
Oh, Elizabeth, you really got that right. I don't think that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would have given the order to start this war, right, exactly 1 week ago, if he thought that he would then have to depend on President Trump to order B-2 bombers to drop those incredibly heavy bunker buster bombs. So the Israelis, I'm sure, have a plan. Could commando troops go and take over Fordo and little by little, oh, who knows, starve out the people, drop explosives down the ventilation shafts, eventually get onto the elevators and go down? I think so. But here's a really strong precedent, Elizabeth. In September of last year in Syria, when there was a lot of tumult, they were on the edge, of the Assad government falling, Israeli commandos flying low-flying helicopters got into Syria to a similar base that the Iranians had built in Syria to actually build precision-guided missiles for Hezbollah, the Shiite Muslim extremists. And the Israelis got in there. They sent a squad at that time of 120, 60 to assault the base, 60 to surround the base. There was air cover, ready to bomb any opposition. I take this as a model for what they could do to Fordo, because in Syria, totally successful. All the Israeli attackers came back, and by the way, they planted 660 pounds of explosives and blew up that base, Mossad, in Syria.
Right.
So I think they could do it again.
Fordo is 300 feet below ground. This would be incredibly dangerous and intricate and tricky for Mossad agents to go in there if they're going in there without having had a bunker-busting bomb going in first.
Well, the bomb, in fact, would mess things up, and Israel prides itself on trying to get intelligence. When the Israelis destroyed Iraq's nuclear reactor, that was 1981, that was just Israel's Air Force bombing the one target in Baghdad. In 2007, the Israelis, keeping it a secret for a while, destroyed a Syrian nuclear reactor that North Korea was building. But before that, the Mossad actually went there, took soil samples, determined what kind of uranium enrichment was taking place. And so I think in a way, the Israelis would almost prefer that they do it on the ground in a more patient way. However, Israeli sources are saying that if America would get involved, it'll be quicker, and they would like that. But if not, the Israelis are confident they can do it.
Right, because Dan, there's been huge pressure from the Israelis on President Trump to authorize this. And this is a violation of precedent. Israel has never once asked the United States before to come in and help fight a battle. Israel has prided itself on fighting its own battles.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is political. Now, some of it, as I said, my sources say it would be quicker if the Americans would bomb it, but the Israelis aren't counting on that. However, they would love for the U.S. to be involved in this war to help make the case that Iran is a country that wasn't just working on developing nuclear weapons, but has been trying to spread its Shiite Islamic revolution throughout the area and supporting terrorist groups. So, of course, Israel would like to know that the U.S. is firmly on its side. But they're aware of the political opinions, the opinion poll that you showed. And so, again, Israel's not counting on it, but they'd like it to happen if President Trump says yes.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.